So a friend and colleague departed his body recently, and it was a really sorry time for others and myself as we came to accept his passing. We asked questions like, well, why him and why now? And he's only in 50 years old, why is this so? And surely he deserves a longer life than this. He was such a great contributor. And a friend asked me for some content on his life for the presentation at his life celebration. So I made a list of a few traits that Mike had exhibited in my dealings with him over the previous 10 years. So I thought this worthy of consideration in the context of times when I asked myself, well, what should I do on this given issue? And as I wrote this, I started to realize that the traits that made Mike so attractive to people and so successful in his life are traits which I think would be worth recalling in the context of what would Mike do. This is a place where those who suspect they're innately wise, brilliant and powerful come to learn how to transform their lives, one cognition, one realization, and one blinding flash of the obvious at a time. We are the innovators, the record breakers, the world makers and creators of all kinds. We supersede the suppressive worldview of mass ignorance and awaken the strength within. We are waking up to our innate secrets. My name is Dr. Mark Postles and welcome to the Innate Secrets podcast. As I contemplated the short 10 years that I've been involved with Mike in my life as a board of trustees member with him at a tertiary education institution and as a personal friend, I made a list of these traits which I'd like to share with you and make some comment about them. So Mike was really wise, and he brought about a perspective on things that was extremely insightful. And this wisdom was based on his information that he had, but more than that, which I think information is like that quadrant two part of just data, but he'd also compiled that information into a working knowledge. And so he had information which applied in certain circumstances that he could bring to any situation. And he'd been functioning at many high levels of corporate activity. And he was able to bring information into a format that was useful, not just theoretical, but actually useful in an application sense. And so, but then beyond that, he had the wisdom to determine which was useful and which was not of the knowledge and the information that he had. So the application of the information was the knowledge, but the knowledge was highly tuned because of his wisdom. And so Mike allowed for an insightful perspective on things, and some call it the 30,000 foot view. It's an ability to get above the argument, get above the content, get above those things on a day-to-day basis that tend to bog us down, to get out of our quadrant 2 and quadrant 3 thinking of the hindbrain, of the reptilian, the animal, the mammal, and move into a bigger perspective. Now, within this viewpoint, then another area that he had as an incredible superpower was his ability to build relationships and the ability to bring about a point of agreement between some very different perspectives, so that he was able to get with people who were at war with each other ideologically and bring them to a point where they could agree on something which then began a more cohesive relationship, a building of relationships. And so from that sense then, he was an incredible connector. And his list of connections ran from the top people in the top jobs of top corporates and governments right down to the local cricket club and the local footy club and the man and lady in the corner store. It was an incredible skill that he had to bring things together from this bigger perspective, not getting bound by the differences, but by going for the similarities and working with people at that level. So that came, I think, from his significant interest in people. So when he spoke with Mike, he was interested about you. He was interested about what was going on with you and how things were. And you'd have to dig a bit to find out about him because his focus was on you. And I think that interest in people is such a powerful thing to have and to use because it's the bottom line is I think that people are interested in themselves, and when you're interested in them, then that's the common point. And you may disagree with them, but if you connect with them, as Mike was able to, then they start to like you because you like them and you like what they like. So the interest in people, even though it might be a very different viewpoint, is a really strong point. I think it's something I've taken home very strongly from Mike. One thing that is really an amazing strength of his was his loyalty and the ability to maintain that connection with people and with organisations and structures, and be loyal to that. And it came from a probably a well-defined sense of one's philosophy and values and direction, so that he joined organisations and he joined with people who were travelling in a similar direction, so that it makes loyalty a lot easier. Obviously, that when he said he was going to do something, he did it, and he would turn up when he had agreed to turn up. So that sense of being loyal, being part of a group, part of a connection with people over a lifetime was very, very evident. And it didn't appear like he'd left, and I certainly couldn't find any areas where he'd left messy relationships behind. He cleaned stuff up as he went, so that loyalty to the organisation, even if he left the organisation, was allowing him to leave cleanly and allowing the organisation to continue and benefit from his presence. And we've certainly experienced that as an organisation that we served on together. But one of the things above all though was the fact that he was kind, and kindness comes through in so many different ways. That thoughtfulness, that willingness to sort of drive out of his way to pick you up, to pick up a tab every now and then, and not out of obligation. Simply that was just a nice thing he wanted to do. To pay things forward, to do things for people that people wouldn't even know about. So the respect for children and little animals, and the people or the things that are not powerful or don't have lots of influence. He was able to connect with them and just show kindness and respect. Then along with that, obviously came helpfulness and the willingness to put his hand out for people who were having some challenges. So even though he mixed with high levels of society, he was able to create a connection with people who were certainly not as well off as he. Now, from this on the intellectual level, there was a great attribute that he expressed, and that was his reading. He was really well read, and he read the popular news and press and so forth, but he was able to discern it and make judgment on based on the history of human beings and biographies and so forth that he read, and bring an awareness to the current, which involved the history. I think once again it goes back to that 30,000 foot view. It's just the information that he carried was such that he could help the current situation become much clearer. And that then led to change, which he wasn't afraid to embrace. And I think is another superpower there is the ability to embrace and enroll and change and allow change to be what it is. It's a reinvention and it's a constant. We're always changing. So he took that on board and was able to roll with it and allow for things to be different. Not necessarily better, but just different. Now, within that, then he obviously spoke well of everybody. I don't think I've ever heard him speak poorly of someone. He would always speak as though that person that was at the top of the conversation was in the room, and spoke about that person as if they were standing right there and he was speaking to their face. And another great attribute of an amazing human being, I think. He threw himself into causes that built people. So he was very involved in programs that support humanity that and not necessarily from a pity point of view. Foundations for diseases and stuff like that didn't seem to be his thing. It was more kids programs that brought out the best, that brought out the human potential that's available, and served at a very humble level and way below the class that he was normally used to with the New Zealand College of Chiropractic. That was which is a very small outfit compared to some of the organisations he dealt with. But because it built people, because he was there to see that, and certainly wasn't a chiropractor, he was just there to make sure that people had the greatest opportunity to have fully expressing brain, spine, nerve systems, and that was part of his dedication. It was to support the development of human beings, and that probably sums it up in terms of his actions are very proactive. Whenever something came up that was a drama or a stress or a possible attack, he would look at how can we go on the front foot, how can we be proactive, let's not be reactive about this, give some space between the stimulus and the response, and we'll work out a way to handle this respectfully and at a higher level, and was always optimistic of a satisfactory outcome, which made him solution oriented. And so once again, another couple of superpowers here that he exhibited. And so that it was always about what's the solution, what's the outcome, and how well can we attain it. It's not whether we can, it's just like how well can we do it and what's our time frame. So but beneath all this was a gratitude and appreciation of life. He loved what we loved. He loved the supportive, non-invasive aspects of a vitalistic profession, of an innate approach to life and health. He was appreciative of life and often spoke of this in grateful terms, in terms of the ability or the opportunities he had to serve with us on this particular mission that we were on. And he really embraced the innate secrets. I mean, when he first got the innate model book, it was like, wow, this is amazing. This is something that just speaks to my values. And so throughout that period of time, then Mike has been such an inspiration, and it's only just beginning, I sense. But the question in this one is, is someone's well-lived life behind us when that person checks out of this earthly coil, and really it's hard to get, but I think the gift that's in a life is, no matter how short the life seems to be, is the value, and when we respect it and take it on board and see it as for what it is, it becomes eternal. It becomes something that we can choose to tap into at any time. And there's a compassion and a love that comes with connecting with a person, and there's a great appreciation for that person's attributes when they move on. And Mike is just such a recent phenomena for me and others. And I think it just brings us to the point that there's so many great points in every single person that we know. And it's about how do we firstly celebrate them while they're here, and then acknowledge them and work with them and embrace them when they've gone. And Mike's last words to us was in a group text, and just a couple of days before he passed, and said, "Goodbye, my brothers. It's been a privilege. Love you." So the question then for me is always, well, what would Mike do? What would his position be on this given circumstance? And it brought me to revisiting why I do what I do and what humanity is here for. And I revisited my sense of my journey and its purpose and I've decided to revisit and revise the innate model manifesto, because that's really the why of what I do within the innate model. And so in the ensuing series, I'll address each of the statements in my manifesto. And you may like to consider yours. You may not know what a manifesto is at this point in time, but I'm sure you will, as the versions of my manifesto come through in the following podcast. So I think that Mike's life was a living example of his manifesto, and the challenge is mine and is yours. So consider, as we go into subsequent podcasts here, the elements of your manifesto and how it applies. And the manifesto is really the core values that you embrace and how it is that they are rolling out in your life. So, what are you for? What are you against? And how do you turn up? So we'll have a look at this, and I just wanted to frame it with Mike's story, and it's something which I know that you've all got a Mike in your life. You've all got a person who's been really influential. You have someone there who what is the epitome of a well-lived life, and so take a bit of time just to consider that, and get into the sense of what that person's brought to you and what they've meant to you. And might even make a list of that. Maybe some of those inspirations may be part of your manifesto as well. So until next time, I'm Mark Postles. Let us show you how to fire your brain in ways that serve you so that you can be confident, connected, and bring joy and passion into what you do every day. Get a free copy of my book, The Innate Model. Go to theinnatemodel.com/free book.